Question 6, how have universities affected social activism? I found a couple of sources. The first one being from higheredtoday.org, titled Embracing Student Activism. There's a part that says, while students may certainly be inspired by social movements or political situations external to campus, scholars of campus activism emphasize that the interests, motivation, and tactics of students are influenced by the campus context. What students choose to protest about, how they choose to frame their messages, and what actions they take to communicate their ideas are shaped by their experiences as students at the institution. Although social activism is commonly associated with civil disobedience, research shows that student activism tends to take on more conventional approaches that creatively disrupt taken for granted norms on campus. So I think a big deal, a big campus activism deal that we've seen recently was with the University of Missouri, and that was kind of what chose me to click on this particular one, even though I didn't read you a quote from the actual Mizzou experience. I feel like when it says like students that are defying the college norm, that like doesn't make sense to them. Definitely the Mizzou students did that with their president. They took action. They were active in their protests. They were meaningful and intentional with everything that they did, and they got their president to resign and made things change at Mizzou. And so, even though it may be seen as disobedience because you're going against the norm, you're going against the status quo, there's something to be said for getting the change that needs to be taken. The second source I have comes from USA College Today, and where is it? Sorry. There's a quote that I've lost it. I'm so sorry. Trying to find it. It says, all the evidence that we're seeing suggests that there's a lot more activism and organizing protests on campuses, especially in the last 10 years. In the last 2 to 4 years, we've seen protests on campuses where there haven't been in a very long time. We've seen marches and rallies at traditional activist campuses drawing in a lot more students than they have in the past. When you think mostly about student activism and students who are using their voice and taking part, a lot of people think of like UC Berkeley. So Berkeley is very well known for challenging the norms, going against society, kind of being that disobedient that I talked about earlier. That's kind of what people associate UC Berkeley with. This article also lists Kent State, which gained fame for student activism during the Vietnam War era, and they still are having activism now. More of their recent activism is about sexual consent and things like that. This also lists Ball State and University of New Mexico as campuses that are very activist. And I think, in my opinion, like OU is very activist. I feel like we've got a good student association. Our student body president, he's really great about getting the word out, getting people informed. And I feel like that's a big part of social activism, is being informed instead of being ill-informed. So you're standing up for the right things and protesting and demanding the correct changes in the correct format. Most definitely, we definitely saw with like the SAE incident, we saw a lot of student activism rallying together with our minority friends, our friends of color. Everyone was kind of banded together. We realized that there was a social injustice. We realized that something that was said was wrong, and we worked to fix that, and that's why that fraternity is no longer a house on campus.